Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Jiayanu, Pakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chunishume, Washmale. Ohai Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privet, Kaifahal, Halashumachatore, Ahlan Wasal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabia, Baligaraya, Hosh Galden and Ayosai, Huyamura, Chivato, Chihajot, Kalimera, Kharutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into Pakistan TV and are watching World this morning alongside Shahzad and Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. The weather's getting a little chillier over here in Islamabad, but for each and every one of you, the only thing that I'm going to say is that, ladies and gentlemen, whatever goals you have, please make sure that you make concerted efforts towards them, and inshallah, you will be blessed with quite a lot coming your way from the Almighty Allah's way as well, ladies and gentlemen. So please make sure that you never leave anything behind thinking that it might not work. So whatever is in your capacity, make sure to do that. But with that, what is in my capacity? Well, in my capacity, it is for me to kind of make sure that I build up on stories which I've been building up from the past weeks as well. So which is why let's get started with the program today, ladies and gentlemen. And certainly, we have spoken about how, there are a couple of stories that I will always bring for you people. And before I actually get started, I think I'm going to congratulate my wonderful colleague who's not here today, Isha. She just got married. So Isha, congratulations. Best of luck for your life ahead. And with that, let's get started with the highlights, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, obviously on the request of the Turkey's foreign minister, the foreign minister and deputy prime minister Syeda will be departing for Istanbul today to attend the coordination meeting of Arab-Islamic foreign ministers, where the Gaza ceasefire deal will be discussed, the Foreign Office has said on Sunday. Not just that, it may be recalled that Pakistan, along with 7 other Arab-Islamic countries, has remained engaged with the peace initiative that led to the signing of the Gaza peace agreement in Sharm el-Sheikh. And just alongside these lines, obviously, on the other hand, just in the previous week, we have been building up on the peace talks which have been taking place within Pakistan government and the Afghan Taliban government. But in an interesting turn of events, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting takes to the X, formerly known as Twitter, saying that Pakistan rejects deliberate twisting of facts attributed to Afghan spokesperson regarding Istanbul talks. Pakistan had demanded that terrorists in Afghanistan posing a threat to Pakistan be controlled or arrested. And not just that, I think in addition to this, where the spokesperson Sabiullah Mujahid have actually spoken about that we're ready to deport them. So I think that the Pakistani government is saying that Pakistan immediately proposed that they be handed over through designated border posts consistent with Pakistan's long-standing position. And in addition to this, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan is in different parts of the world are making Pakistan proud, which is why today what we'll be doing is that we will be joined by somebody all the way from NASA, and he's a Pakistani. His name is Yasir Tufail as well. He's one of those amazing human beings who actually have made in a lot of effort for the James Webb telescope to be out there, and then to kind of align all of those 18 meters which are on the James Webb telescope. But and not just that, certainly we will be speaking about Babar Azam breaking all sorts of record, becoming the highest run getter in the T20 internationals with 37 half centuries, 3 centuries, an average of 38 or 39. We will be talking about it. We're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere. When you come back, there's quite a lot on the other side. Stay with me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. And to kind of get started, in the first highlight, I did mention how the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Syeda, will be traveling to Istanbul today on the invitation of the Turkey's foreign minister to speak about it or to establish the very basics of it. We're very lucky that we have been joined by a very serious correspondent, happens with Mr. Shabir Waghra. He's with us. Hello, Shabir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you feeling today? All right, so Shabir, just to get started, what I would want to kind of ask you over here is that the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister will be visiting Turkey, Istanbul today, and I think that there have been a technical glitch as well. But for all of those audiences who are out there, I would want to kind of establish over here where how the foreign ministers of 8 Muslim countries are set to meet in Istanbul today to discuss the next steps under President Trump's Gaza peace plan. The crucial meeting actually comes in the wake of serious Israeli breaches of the ceasefire in the Palestinian enclave. Foreign ministers from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Türkiye, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Jordan, and Indonesia will attend the Istanbul meeting. Earlier, Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, along with leaders of these Arab and Muslim countries, met U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly session in New York last September. But in addition to this, what we really need to kind of speak about is that imagine that, that these violations that have been taking place ever since that the ceasefire has taken place, it looks like as if Israel is really not ready to kind of abide by the ceasefire, which obviously was intervened by the United States President and then the Middle Eastern countries. I'm very lucky that I've been joined by my very senior correspondent who happens to be Mr. Shabir Wagra. Hello Shabir, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you feeling today?
I'm good, Shahzad. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for your time. So Shabir, please can you, let my audiences know as to what's going to happen now and what sort of violations have been taking place from Israel's front, right after the ceasefire was signed by maybe Israel or maybe Hamas and the mediating parties, which including Pakistan will make 8 other countries who were out there.
Yes, indeed. The violations by Israel remained continued despite of that ceasefire agreement that was signed between the countries. And for that reason, today an Arab-Islamic foreign ministers meeting is taking place in Istanbul again, where Pakistan is represented by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Senator Mohammad Ishaq Dar. And as you rightly pointed out in your introductory remarks, that Pakistan, along with 7 other Arab-Islamic countries, has remained engaged with the peace initiative that led to signing of the Gaza peace agreement in Sharm el-Sheikh. And now there are certain issues with that, especially provision of humanitarian aid, as well as these ceasefire violations by Israel, continuous bombing of certain areas of Gaza, and also the surrounding areas. Even recently, Israel bombed different areas in Lebanon. So during this Istanbul meeting, which is taking place today, Pakistan will emphasize the need for the full implementation of the ceasefire agreement, especially the complete Israeli withdrawal from the occupied Palestinian territory, especially Gaza, as well as the provision of humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians and reconstruction of Gaza. These are the 3 major pillars which would be during today's meeting that Pakistan Deputy Prime Minister will be emphasizing, and he also will reiterate the need for collective efforts aimed at achieving an independent, viable, and contiguous state of Palestine with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital based on pre-1967 borders, which remain Pakistan's consistent stance for last so many decades. Pakistan remained very consistent in support of independent state of Palestine with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its border. So Pakistan has been and will continue to be committed to efforts to restore peace, justice, and dignity to the Palestinian people. Yes, Shahzad.
So much for updating our audiences. Thank you so much for your time. And while we are at it, I think, to kind of speak about it, those 3 very important aspects remain questionable. And it's because of the fact that imagine that, after the ceasefire agreement, it was the reconstruction which the United States President Donald Trump himself spoke about it. The humanitarian aid still cannot reach it. Despite the ceasefire, Israel's strikes and severe restrictions on aid have left Gaza civilians struggling to survive. To kind of build on further whether what the future discourse needs to be, how do you think that for all of those 7 Arab countries, Pakistan, the 8th country, and then the United States of America are actually going to make sure that that they bring Israel to the table where they continue the atrocities or the genocide within Gaza. So to speak further more about it, I'm very lucky that I've been joined by my former ambassador, Dr. JAMIL Khan. Dr. Abbas, assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you feeling today?
Wa alaikum assalam, and a very good morning to you too and your audience.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. And so very quickly, getting to the point where, we have seen that in Sharm el-Sheikh, the Gaza peace plan was signed by all the parties, United States of America, maybe the 7 Arab countries, Pakistan, for all of those countries who've been playing a mediating role. It looks like as if Israel is not ready to listen, because we have seen continuous ceasefire violations from their front.
Well, the basic goal of Israel and a very stated goal of Israel, which their ministers have been making statements, with their prime minister have been making a statement that they want to really capture entire Gaza, and that's part of the greater Israel. And that was impeded because of the intervention of these 8 countries who are assembling. The foreign minister of those countries are assembling today. But then more importantly, the interest of Donald Trump, who is heading the Board of Peace now, although the composition of that Board of Peace has yet not been announced, but at least that has the person who is the most powerful president of the most powerful country is himself interested in it. Now the question arises, to what extent the pressure is maintained on Israel. I think the momentum of the pressure needs to continue. And it's for this reason that the 8 foreign ministers representing their respective head of states and head of government, they are assembling there. And as you have already in your intro spelled out as to what are the purpose, Pakistan is a very clear instance right from the very beginning. Now, regardless of the fact to what extent we would be able to succeed in pressing our point, the two-state solution as per the Oslo Accord of 1993, and with Al-Quds al-Sharif, as has been spelled out earlier, as the capital. But then that doesn't seem to be happening in the near future. Right now, what is needed to be done is the humanitarian aid and stopping Israel in carrying out their aggression. Ever since from 10th of October onward, ceasefire, once it was announced.
Exactly. And Jamil Sahab, I'll come back to this as well, because there's another thing which I would want to kind of bring to my audience's attention and to your attention as well, that an Israeli airstrike has killed at least 4 people in southern Lebanon. Now, imagine that where we're talking about how, they're not even, kind of, where the right word to use was to honor the agreement which took place. Now, they've taken it to Lebanon, where the Lebanese health ministry said the Israeli attack in the town of Kafar is the Nabathi district also wounded 3. The attack came a day after Lebanese President Jose on said that Israel escalating strikes in response to his offer to negotiate a more lasting end to cross-border attacks. Now, we have seen how Israel has previously attacked in Iran as well. We have seen how Israel looks like as if it's one of those, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Netanyahu is actually wanted by the ICC, the ICJ. It looks like as if all the global powers coming together cannot stop Israel.
That's true. And what is the reason? I think your viewers would like to know about it. The Israeli lobby in the United States and the UK and some other countries, more importantly, United States, they have a full influence on the Congress as well as their institutions like State Department, Pentagon, media, Treasury, all the departments. And there's a very comprehensive book written by Professor John Mearsheimer, and it describes how Israeli lobby prevails on the national security interest of the United States once it comes to the Israeli interest. So yes, they are working at the background 24/7, and that's the reason Israel and Israeli Prime Minister, they feel that the violation of international law, it would not really affect them and impact them. And the history has also shown whenever there has been a Security Council resolution asking Israel to stop their aggression, asking Israel to comply with international law and Security Council resolutions, every time that was advanced in the Security Council, that it was vetoed by the United States. So they know that the United States, because of the Israeli lobby, is obliged to veto some of those Security Council resolution. And I must also underscore one point here, that so far, whatever resolutions have been passed, that has been passed under Chapter 6 of the United Nations Charter. If it was passed under Chapter 7, which I assume which I can very safely say that because of the Israeli lobby, that would be vetoed, then in that case, Israel would have no option but to abide by that. Now, coming.
Yeah, and which is why, sir, I would want to kind of now circle back to where how the foreign ministers meeting is taking place and the deputy prime minister and foreign minister Senator Akbar is actually traveling. Now, how do you think that when all of these foreign ministers sit together for the Gaza ceasefire meeting, what needs to be the day forward, what needs to be discussed, and what needs to be the discourse of action in future?
And basically a reminder and the pressure to all the commitments which has been made in 20 points agenda. And Donald Trump and his team has shown tremendous interest in it. So it's just a reminder to them and in a way, a pressure of these 8 countries. And these are 8 countries are not alone. In fact, the entire OIC countries and more importantly, even the world community, quite a large number of world community, they favored this 20-point agenda. And we have seen in Sharm el-Sheikh how many head of government and head of states had were present there. So that shows the interest.
That we're facing a bit of technical difficulty as well, but thank you so much, Dr. Jamil Khan, former ambassador, for being with us. And for people who are out there, ladies and gentlemen, we hope and pray, for all of those Arab Muslim countries, for Pakistan to kind of come together, sit down and create that diplomatic pressure, which is certainly important, for the well-being of the people of Gaza. And while we are at it, imagine that, despite the ceasefire, I've mentioned it before, Israel's strike and severe restrictions on aid have left Gaza civilians struggling to survive. Already crippled by months of war and blockade, hospitals in Gaza remain overwhelmed. According to the World Health Organization, more than 16,500 patients in need of specialized treatment remain trapped inside the besieged enclave. Since a U.S. brokered ceasefire between Hamas and Israel took effect last month, Israel has continued its deadly attacks across Gaza, killing at least 236 Palestinians and wounding more than 600 others. In the past 24 hours alone, hospitals in Gaza reported the deaths of 3 more people and recovered 3 additional bodies from beneath collapsed buildings. And certainly it is something which needs, utmost attention, for the foreign minister, the deputy prime minister, Senator Akbar, on the invitation of the Turkey's foreign minister and all the other 7 Arab countries' foreign ministers will be traveling, and we hope that that in days to come we will see a complete ceasefire and that the people of Gaza get their right to self-determination and be back to normalcy. And we certainly want to see that that there's no more famine, that people are not dying because of hunger. So we hope and pray that in days to come things will get better. At this point of time, I'm going to head out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere. When you come back, let's speak about how the Afghan Taliban regime is actually twisting the plot. How? That's exactly something that I'll be discussing right after the break. Good morning. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Moving on towards the second highlight, where we did discuss, how the Afghan Taliban spokesperson is trying to twist the plot over here, where on the Ariana News, on the X, they said that the spokesperson for the Islamic Emirate, Zabiullah Mujahid, has said that during the Istanbul negotiation, the Pakistani side was informed that the Islamic Emirate was willing to deport people Islamabad considers a security threat. However, Pakistan did not accept the offer. Now imagine that the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting takes to the platform X and says that Pakistan rejects deliberate twisting of facts attributed to Afghan spokesperson regarding Istanbul talks. Pakistan had demanded that terrorists in Afghanistan posing a threat to Pakistan be controlled or arrested when the Afghan side said that they were Pakistani nationals. In addition to this, Pakistan immediately proposed that they be handed over through designated border posts consistent with Pakistan's long-standing position. Any claim to the contrary is false and misleading. And to kind of speak about it, we're very lucky that we have been joined by another former ambassador, happens to be Major General retired RAZA Muhammad Saab. Hello sir, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam, thank you so much. God bless you, I'm fine. Thank you for taking me on your program.
For joining us, wonderful to have you, in our program. And to kind of get started, sir, so we've seen in the recent past where how first of all, a ceasefire came into place, and then after that, looks like as if that the talks that took place were inconclusive, and then eventually we decided again, for a ceasefire, and now the Afghan Taliban regime is trying to twist the plot. What do you make of it, sir?
Thank you so much for your question. First of all, I think whenever we have to negotiate with the TTA, it is going to be difficult. If you remember when the Doha talks were on between USA and the TTA, it took even years. So it may take a little more time, but more importantly, that they are progressing and they've been stalled by them because of their indifferent attitude or arrogance, then these recontinued, and some light is seen at the end of the tunnel. Why they are hesitating, why they're hedging, why they are not coming to terms and changing their stances, I think it is a situation of being caught in between the devil and the deep blue sea. Devil being the TTP and all the terrorist organizations which are there and they're supporting their illegitimate regime, and Deep Blue Sea being the Indian sport and money and funding which they have got already. So they are now in a fix that what to do. So I think and hope that there must be some saner elements in the rank and file of the TTA. They will reconsider their stances, and they will ultimately, I think, they will take care of themselves, and their people, and us as well. Last point, we must be very clear. Afghan people are different, and this regime is different. This regime is not a legitimate regime because they are in power against the promises which they had made in the Doha Accord. They had to conduct election, and inclusivity was to be there, women rights were to be given, and they were to ensure that no terrorist organizations operate from their soil. So they have not actually complied with any of these three terms. Hence, they need the support of the TTP and such like criminals and terrorists.
Exactly, which is why, sir, at this point of time, I'm going to take you a little back. I mean, in the previous week, we did discuss how, first of all, the Federal Minister for Information actually took to the Platform X and said that, that the talks were inconclusive. The next day, the next morning, the Minister of Defense, Mr. Khwaja Asif, actually spoke about that. If we had to go and target, all of these bandits, within, the Afghanistan, we will not shy away, and we will do that, and we have full authority and we have capability. Our armed forces have all sorts of capability. And then, towards the evening, we got to hear that, okay, the ceasefire will continue. Now imagine that, for the Afghan Taliban to be at the hands of the BJP's government of India, and probably depending on war economy to kind of disrupt or probably dismantle the peace that we have within the region. How do you think that in days to come, if God forbid they continue to do these gimmicks, that Pakistan will have to retaliate or probably look for a way to kind of figure out how to put them in their place?
First of all, I think I'll go back to your intro and one point which you gave, that they say that they were ready to deport the militants and Pakistan refused. How is it possible? Pakistan is the country which wants that they all should come back, be held accountable for all what they did. So Pakistan would never refuse their apprehension and their return or deportation. Number two, about the statement which was given by the Defense Minister of Pakistan, I think it is a demonstration or expression of the capability which Pakistan has. The desire of Pakistan is that it should not be forced to use the force. It should not be forced to employ the military means or kinetic means to do all this. They are our neighbors. Pakistan doesn't want it, and it was the last option which Pakistan resorted to. And again, if Pakistan is forced to resort to the same option, Pakistan will not hesitate. However, Pakistan's desire is that the regime should the Taliban regime, the interim regime should negotiate with Pakistan, and they should actually take measures and strict visible actions against the people who are coming from Afghanistan, like TTA, BLA, BRA, Majid Brigade people who are operating from Afghanistan and attacking our people, our military installations, the officials in Balochistan and also in KP.
Exactly, which is why, sir, to kind of bring it to that subject where we could conclude it. Now, imagine that the Ministry of Information Broadcasting in their tweet said that Pakistan rejects deliberate twisting of facts attributed to Afghan spokesperson regarding Istanbul talks. Pakistan demanded that terrorists in Afghanistan posing a threat to Pakistan be controlled or arrested when the Afghan side said that they were Pakistani nationals. Now, just towards the end, Pakistan immediately proposed that they be handed over through designated border posts consistent with Pakistan's long-standing position, and any claim to the contrary is false and misleading. But I think that, Pakistan has made it really clear already.
Yes, in fact, you have said it all. Really, Pakistan has made it very clear. Pakistan has just one point agenda, and that agenda is that they should take action against the TTP, BLA, BRA, who are there, Fitnatul Khawarij and Fitnatul Hindustan, who are operating from their territory. We do not have any other ambitions. We do not have any other demands. And if they deport them, if they control them, if they hand them over to us, Pakistan will be more than willing to take them, disarm them, and then interrogate them, take action against those who have committed the heinous crime, and those who want to join the mainstream, disarm themselves and be part of the society. Why not? I think Pakistan will be more than willing to do this all.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, sir, Raza Muhammad, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for sharing what Pakistan's stance is. And absolutely, I think for the audiences out there, I think you know the truth now. And for the Afghan Taliban government, to kind of twist the plot, they have no idea how capable or how able the Pakistani armed forces are. The civil leadership, the military leadership happens to be on the same page. And not just that, I think that when it comes to Pakistan media, we've always made sure that, that without any inclination, we make sure that we say the right thing. And that's exactly what you just got to know. With that, I think right at the beginning of the program, I did speak about how, Pakistan's are making Pakistan proud. I would want to kind of go into a transition and then come back, so that it might look a little interesting, but I really need to kind of get that support and then kind of move on from there onwards as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to change the topic from here onwards and kind of move on towards where how Pakistanis are actually doing really wonderfully well. So let's go. Let's see what we are going to actually talk about. Let's go. Now imagine that, ladies and gentlemen, we will be in conversation with a gentleman who actually grew up in a small village near Gujarat, and where the night sky first sparked curiosity for him to kind of do wonderfully well. And that amazing gentleman, all the way from Pakistan, moved to the United States of America back in 2001, and then became a core member of the team of NASA, where he's actually known as the troubleshooter at NASA, and certainly he's joined us as well. So I'm going to pose him a question. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by Yasir Tufail, happens to be the Deputy Portfolio Manager at NASA. And Yasir, I'm going to ask you the same question. So imagine that you grew up in a small village near Gujarat, where the night sky first sparked your curiosity. How did those humble beginnings shape your journey toward becoming an engineer at NASA?
Thank you so much for inviting me to your show. I really appreciate that and excited to be here. So when I grew up in Pakistan, I'm from actually a really small village called Karyanwala. I didn't know much about astronomy at that time, so I kind of really enjoyed looking at the night sky filled with stars because we didn't have light pollution at that time. So I often looked up in the sky and kind of like saw what I thought there was a star moving across the sky, and I didn't know what it was. So I moved to US, and in 2001, when I was in New York, I looked up and I realized that I couldn't see those stars anymore. So that's when my curiosity about space, really began. And later on, I found out that, those stars are actually satellites. And that kind of, made me more curious about space and how these things work.
Exactly, and not just that, I think I would want to kind of bring it over here. It was a sad incident. I do believe that it was somewhere in 2003 where the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster deeply moved you and influenced your career path. How do you think that, from there onwards, your journey to kind of explore and the outlook of space exploration actually helped you?
Oh yeah, so I was in high school, I remember, and then people were actually talking about Columbia Space Shuttle disaster, and they were actually putting posters about the fallen astronauts. So I just got really curious that who are these people? What have they done? In their life? What kind of education they have completed in colleges? So I started looking up into their profiles, and that's really sort of like moved me that I wanted to do something something similar to what they did. So I wanted to actually become an astronaut. So even though watching this something so tragic kind of made me realize that how much courage and dedication and sacrifice go into space exploration. So that's when I decided that I want to be an astronaut. I want to work for NASA. So when I was in college, I believe I was a junior at that time, I started working on NASA missions, and that's how my journey started with NASA.
Exactly. And speaking about your journey, obviously you happen to be the core member of the team where, you were alongside your team members supposed to, kind of set up the James Webb Telescope and then integrate it as well. So, speaking about the James Webb Space Telescope, what were the emotional or the, other challenges that you actually had to come over to kind of be able to be that productive member of the team?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, that I worked on James Webb Space Telescope for almost 7 years. So I wore many hats within the James Webb Space Telescope. Prior to launch, I was working as a senior instrument engineer on NEARChem, which was actually the primary instrument on James Webb. And also, one of our jobs was to integrate all the instruments together. So I was working with the team to integrate and test, all the instruments with the spacecraft and also with the optical testing elements as well. So we did a lot of testing prior to our launch, and it's really hard to describe any one single challenge, but one of the biggest thing I would say that challenges that we faced during testing was actually James have had more than 300 single point failures. So anything if it doesn't work, then it could have just really delayed or jeopardized the whole mission. So prior to launch, we had to make sure that everything is actually working perfectly. So we had to go through very rigorous sort of like testing and then doing environmental testing to make sure everything is going to work. So it's basically lots on stake, but then at the same time it's very intenseful, but then stressful, but at the same time it's incredibly rewarding. So when James Webb launched and everything worked perfectly fine, so it was kind of like in a really rewarding moment.
Exactly. And Tufail, not just that, so while I was researching, imagine that I did get to know that how, with the James Webb Space Telescope, it was the major challenge was to align those 18 mirrors into a unified, which actually will produce a unified picture or an image as well. And that happens to be, your proudest moment till now. How did you actually feel when you were able to do it or achieve it?
Oh yeah, it's a really good question. Even actually thinking about this kind of gives me goosebumps. So it was truly an unforgettable moment. So after years of testing and simulation and planning, those 18 segments, basically what happens that I don't know if you remember that there was a small disaster with Hubble Space Telescope that the image actually came out really blurry. Hubble only had one mirror, so we had 18 mirrors. So we had to make sure that everything would perfectly work. And then if there is anything like we have to do any sort of like alignments, we have to figure out a way to do this. So what NASA did, we actually used this technique called remote it's called wavefront sensing technique. So basically it's like giving glasses to mirrors itself. So anytime they need to do any adjustment, they would actually kind of do it on their own. So imagine that each mirror can actually be adjusted by an amount as small as 1/10,000th of a width of a human hair.
Wow.
So imagine working on that, spending all that time. So when we were doing commissioning, each mirror would actually looking at one star. They were actually behaving as if it's each mirror is each telescope. So all these separate dots slowly try to merge together into one sharp image, and it's like watching the dream come true. When the first image came out, it was like we were really excited. So it's like for me it was like not just for me, for the whole team, it was really it was pride moment, and then at the same time pure relief and pure joy as well. So yeah, we really enjoy that. And then it's like you giving it's like James Webb is just opening its eye to the new universe, and you could actually see it clearly. So, and then I happened to be on that shift when, when everything was in line, when the first image came out. And I actually, I think, I don't know if there's a picture of me actually signing that image as well, because we didn't actually release it to public at that time. It was only internally. So it was.
And while we're talking about all of this, we are actually sharing those visuals with our amazing audiences as well. But Tufail, what kind of is really interesting about your career is that, that you have a multifaceted career at NASA. Now imagine that you've been working at projects like Landsat, Aqua, Terra, TRMM, among others, so you've been on quite a lot of projects. Which mission taught you the most valuable lessons about leadership and innovation?
So I've been fortunate to work on many missions, from sending many satellites to space to supporting astronauts on manned missions, sending astronauts to space. Each mission kind of taught me how to, handle risk differently. So for example, with unmanned mission, our more focus is to make sure that, everything's going to work perfectly before launch. And then once we launch, everything should work. But then when you're actually sending humans to space, stakes are even higher. So you're kind of responsible for the human lives as well. So both experience kind of taught me, the preparation, teamwork, how to collaborate, and also stay really calm under pressure. So that kind of, is like a key to managing, risks successfully, and then, working towards any kind of challenges.
Wow, that's great. And Tufail, in addition to this, imagine that that ever since that I've taken birth into my family, Alhamdulillah, I've been named as Bhai. So no matter wherever I go, may it be my grandparents, may it be my sisters, and anybody, they would actually refer to me as Bhai. But whenever or wherever you are in NASA, everybody calls you a troubleshooter. Now imagine, so you are handy NASA's troubleshooter, and which is why I would want to kind of ask you, what sort of approach actually helps you solve complex engineering problems?
Yeah, so working on many missions, again, taught me how to approach problems calmly and methodically. So, first, anytime, if there's an anomaly, first of all, that's why we go through integration and testing to kind of understand the system. And then when you actually, the spacecraft is in space, if something happens, you kind of know, you have to basically step back and then break those, complex problem into smaller parts and then start testing carefully. Start relying on your team members as well, the subject matter experts, to see what's happening. And then, and also stay curious at the same time, why exactly happened. So kind of, we work together as a team and then to try to actually solve the toughest problem. And I'm sure you've seen, like in the different movies or Apollo 13, how if there's a problem, it's not just one person is actually doing this, it's just a collaboration of, teamwork.
Exactly, and I do believe that I'm going to learn it from here onwards as well, and I'll make sure that I actually break bigger problems into smaller problems and then solve them just exactly how you've mentioned about that. But in addition to this, Tufail, what we have seen is that you have been a strong advocate of STEM education for people or children over here in Pakistan. Now, imagine, how do you think that we need to nurture the needs of the future generations over here so that they could do as well as you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. I normally don't come visit Pakistan that often, but I started to actually, on my own personal time, started to persuade students, in Pakistan, especially in rural area, to come to our STEM studies. I've given lecture at NUST and LUMS and other places as well. So first thing I would say, we need to inspire, the first thing would be to, inspire curiosity among our, students, because we got to show them that, if you want to persuade something, in terms of STEM studies or even science or space, there are possible, amazing careers out there as well. And then secondly, I would say that, to strengthen the STEM education, a school needs to do, or universities need to do, better role in terms of, giving students like hands-on projects, need to have like better labs and equipment, and at the same time create opportunities where they can actually do an internship. You can have a collaboration within Pakistan or even with the international partners as well, or space organization, so the students can actually apply what they learn in the classroom and then kind of get really hands-on experience as well.
Exactly, and where you've spoken about it, so let me just ask about, so looking ahead, what excites you about upcoming space projects, and do you think that in days to come there will be projects which might link with Pakistan or any international collaborations that you might be working on?
So, working at NASA, it's always exciting for me because every project is unique. So it's kind of like, every single project is pushing the boundaries of science, technology, and exploration. So whether it's understanding of the universe, improving Earth observation, or kind of like advancing new technologies. So it really excites me. Not just me, anyone who actually work at NASA. That's why, they really love their job. It's because it's always something new. In terms of collaboration, yes, if there is an opportunity for me to actually, collaborate, with any, I don't know if there's a collaboration with Pakistan or any other sort of like, a project, that is actually, NASA's involved, definitely I would love to work with that. Yeah, NASA.
Yeah, very quickly, so I'm going to get off script over here as well. And, because I'm one of those individuals who's always, would want to kind of ask about new things. So imagine that for now, what I've learned is that SpaceX might be a cheaper version of NASA, and they have been collaborating on multiple projects. Do you think that in days to come, SpaceX might be taking over NASA?
So people forget to realize that SpaceX basically it's a private entity, it's a private company. So NASA actually has given contract to space to send astronauts to space. I don't know if you remember the shuttle. They just shuttle mission stopped going to space long time ago, but we still have International Space Station, and we have to send humans to International Space Station, and then we also have to send food and all that stuff. The only way NASA's or U.S. astronauts, they would actually go to the space station was actually, using Russian Soyuz capsule. But what NASA wanted to do is actually have something, from US as well. So that's why they've given contract to SpaceX, and also they've given contract to Boeing. Okay. They have their own Starliner, and then also United Launch Alliance. They have their Atlas V rocket. So I actually work on this whole enterprise called Commercial Crew Program. So I actually worked on that to support SpaceX launches Crew 3, Crew 4, Crew 5, and then also worked on Axiom launch. And then I don't know if you remember, there were 2 astronauts got stranded on space station, and the SpaceX actually had to send another one to actually rescue that. I actually worked on that mission called OFD-2, which was basically prior to that space mission. Basically, it was just a test flight to make sure that the rocket is actually going to work, and then the Starliner is actually going to work. So saying that SpaceX is taking over, I don't think it's it's just as people actually make up stuff.
Yeah, I get that very quickly. So imagine the fact you happen to be one of those individuals while being on this planet that you can look at things outside this planet, and that too very closely. Do you think in days to come we might be colonizing Mars or Moon?
It's a really great question. I mean, right now, I think what we're doing is that I think you probably heard about Artemis program. NASA is trying to go to the moon. So the first thing is actually to go to the moon, test all the technologies that we have, and then afterwards, the final destination is actually Mars. In my humble personal opinion, it's probably going to take a while since we actually, get to Mars, but moon, I would say, like in a couple of years you'll start seeing astronauts going to moon, not just from US side, probably other agencies or other countries will try to do that as well.
Exactly. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Tufail, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with you. Thank you so much for making all of these Pakistanis proud back home, and may you continue to prosper and continue to contribute towards such space explorations, and may Allah always be with you as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, there's a bit of change in the plan. Let's go, and right after the transition, I'm going to let you know what we're going to talk about. Let's go. That's exactly what I'm going to speak about. We're going to speak about the all-time prodigy, the king himself, Mr. Babar Azam. And why not? Imagine that for me to be a sports broadcast journalist, and there are multiple hats that I actually wear while I'm on television, would want to speak about that one gentleman where I do believe that the Pakistan Cricket Board management really did not do justice with him. Imagine that just now when he was playing against South Africa, even though we won the series, I would want to congratulate Babar Azam becomes the leading run scorer in the world of cricket in T20 internationals with more than 4,200 runs, surpassing Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Mohammad Rizwan, and there's so many multiple others as well. And imagine that he played with an average of 38, 39. His strike rate was somewhat at 129 to 130. He scored 3 centuries and he scored 37 half centuries, ladies and gentlemen. So imagine that even then, you know, for our management and coaches to say that Babar needs to kind of make sure that he plays modern day cricket. Well, what sort of modern day cricket would you want him to play when you already know that, you know, that he's the top run getter? And if he is the top run getter, why would you want to push him to play a game which he's not natural with? And that's exactly what I would want everybody else to understand. And then there was this other question which I had, and that question was that imagine that, you know, if Babar and Rizwan cannot play together and on 3 or 4 or 1 or 2, how can Salman and Babar Rizwan play together? Because Salman plays really slow. Imagine that with a strike of 128, he was able to do that. He became the leading run scorers, and that's exactly why we love him. So we're very lucky that we've been joined by Mr. Kashif Shabir over here. So Kashif, I do know for a fact that we're very short on time, so I'm just going to pose one question, and that question is that for the leading run scorer in the world of cricket, Mr. Babar Azam with 37 half centuries, with 3 centuries, happened to surpass Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Mohammad Rizwan and all of those other cricketers, and is the leading run scorer. What more does the management want from Babar Azam? दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा रन बना दिए और कितना तेज खेलना है? Kashif Shabir, I think there's been a bit of glitches today with the internet, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm really sorry for that. Well, it's not really our fault. We have made sure to give you the best information that we have, and that too backed with research. But I think this is it for me, and for people who are out there, you can pretty much decide it. The question is very simple. For a gentleman, for a cricketer who's one of its kind, who's a superstar, imagine that he happens to be the leading run scorer in the world, and the team management asks him to play a very different game. So if he is going to play a very different sort of a game that might not add to his natural aura of playing the way that he plays, what's the point? You know, so I think Babar Azam, congratulations to you. You know, the entire nation backs you. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, look after yourselves. It's a good morning. Bye. We'll see you tomorrow.